The Supreme Overlord of Commorragh gazed down from his bladed throne and favored each of the assembled Greater Archons with a lingering look. Vekt's milk-white skin was as smooth and unlined as a child's, yet his void black eyes glowed with millennia-old hatred and unimaginably devious intelligence. The proud Archons met the Supreme Overlord's gaze without flinching, as they knew they must, or die, but not one of them did not tremble a little inside. Vekt's sharp-featured face was normally redolent of the uncounted centuries of unbridled wickedness he had inflicted on others for his own pleasure. The Supreme Overlord normally projected amusement or self-satisfaction or insufferable confidence by turns. Now, his mouth was drawn into a bitter scowl. "My poor, beautiful city," said Azdrabel Vekt at last, his rich voice sonorous with melancholy. "Why is it that everyone conspires to destroy it?" Azdrabel Vekt is the Supreme Overlord of Commorragh. Claiming to have been born prior to the fall of the Eldar Empire, this lowly serf who had become indentured to the noble class of the Dark City with no resources save his cunning, rose to prominence through manipulation until leading his own cabal of the Black Heart. Striking down the nobility of Commorragh before they could realize the threat Vekt posed, Azdrabel united the rival subrealms and their lords during an invasion by the Imperium of Man. The catalyst to his ascension, spearheaded by the Astartes primogenitor chapter, the Salamanders. Their strike cruiser, Forgehammer, distracted the Commorragh nobility from Vekt's schemes. Driving back the Space Marine forces, Azdrabel declared himself the Supreme Overlord of the Dark City, beginning 6 millennia of undisputed rule despite the many attempts made on his life. The schemes of long embittered Archons always failing to topple the wily tyrant from his throne. Among the most disastrous would be that of the plot made by the Archon of the White Flames Cabal, Nyos Elithian. Reviving the long-dead rival of Vekt, El Uriak, as the allies of Elithian retrieved his skull from the forbidden subrealm of Shadom, the resultant chaos wrought from a demon residing within the Sunda Drukari Emperor's form invited calamity. The disjunction wrought from the resurrection and subsequent death of El Uriak, threatening to tear Commorragh apart. Vekt, with aid from the enigmatic Harlequin, Motley, regained control of his domains in order to prevent the Drukari from being consumed by She-Who-Firsts. Punishing Archon Elithian for his temerity in threatening his rule, Vekt quelled the attempts by the pawns of Tzeentch and Nurgle from corrupting his fiefdom in secret, as his feigned death drew Nyos' conspirators into clear view. Once more embroiled by the events of a disjunction during the Night of Revelations, the duel between Lelith Hesperax and the mysterious corsair Amharok within the Crucible fulfilled a ritual to revive the Eldar god of the dead, Inayad. Reviving the fallen corsair, imbuing her as the emissary of Inayad, the Daughter of Shades fled from the Dark City as Commorragh faced the greatest threat to its survival as the resultant warp energies unleashed plunged it into the Great Disjunction. Vekt ordering assassins to enact vengeance against Yvraine, whilst forming uneasy alliances with his subordinate cabals to bring order back to the Dark City. Following the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler, further ruin would befall Commorragh. Demons of the Warp flooding the streets of the Dark City, Vekt rallied a gigantic counterattack spearheaded by the Incubi, yet in his time of greatest peril, Azdrabel would be struck down by a mandrake under orders from an unknown entity. The funeral of Vekt, tended to by Harlequins of the Mask of the Veil Path, the majority of Archons, whether friend or foe, could not pass up the chance to witness the internment of the tyrant to which they had served for millennia. The Harlequins massacring all Archons present during the service in order to fuel a ritual to imbue Vekt's corpse with dark power. The homunculi cult of the Prophets of Flesh brought back the slain Archons with Azdrabel's rebirth as the living Dark Muse. Rewarding those loyal to his reign with life, Vekt ordered those opposed to his will to be reborn as slavering, twisted abominations destined to live eternal as a cruel jest of the arts of fleshcraft. Presiding over his subjects atop his personal ravager, the Deus of Destruction, Azdrabel Vekt, on the rare occasions he is required to fight, wields his badge of office, the Scepter of the Dark City, as his obsidian orbs restores any wounds he sustains. His actions aided by the doppelganger of his form, the Gelding, Though the thought of ending the reign of Vect, now imbued as the living muse, is dangerous, the alternative, to pledge fealty to the cause of the Ynnari, is a nonetheless tantalizing prospect. Enacting the Dark Eldar civil war to crush all Ynnari loyalists within the midst of Commorragh, entire subrealms of the Dark City are now controlled by the subjects of Ynaead. Large portions of Drukhari, loyal to the cause of Yvraine, fleeing Commorragh for pastures new. All who evacuate the domains of the Supreme Overlord, regardless, know that a reckoning shall be forthcoming. For none have ever slighted the will of Asdrubael Vect and escaped the consequences.